Hello, info person. This is Anton, and today we're going to discuss some of the recent discoveries in regards to one of the biggest mysteries coming out of the James Webb Space Telescope. The mystery we've previously discussed in a lot of other videos, right there in the description, that currently scientists refer to as the little red dots. Bizarre, unexplained formations discovered by the James Webb and only visible to the James Webb that, as the name implies, basically resemble tiny red dots. And ever since the first observations and since the first analysis, they basically became one of the main mysteries. Because obviously we have absolutely no idea what we're actually looking at. Okay, we have some ideas that we're going to be discussing today, but it's still not super clear. And we've actually discussed one of these objects extremely recently, because something strange was discovered inside of one that was previously never seen before. In this case, we're talking about a very specific type of emissions that should be technically impossible. Once again, the link for this should be in the description. But here's what we know about them so far and what science has discovered in the last couple of years. First of all, even though they do appear in a lot of different imagery from the James Webb, they were only officially reported and described in March of 2024, essentially making them a new type of an object that was never before seen anywhere. And one of the main reasons they were so mysterious is of course because only the James Webb Space Telescope seemed to be able to see them. In other words, they were only visible to very powerful infrared telescopes. And what's really surprising here is that they seem to have very flat infrared spectrum. Or basically their infrared emissions were somewhat similar to each other and did not exhibit a lot of flares or a lot of variability. Moreover, there was no detection of X-rays or any other powerful radiation, and most importantly, there were no flares of any sorts. Which is of course what we usually expect from a typical supermassive black hole or from a typical AGN, active galactic nucleus. And so these were literally like tiny red lights everywhere that didn't seem to change much and seemed to produce the same color. Moreover, they all seem to exist around the same period of time. So far, all of them have been detected between 0.6 to 1.6 billion years after the Big Bang, with the youngest ones existing 12.2 billion years ago. But the majority seem to be visible about 600 million years following the Big Bang, and their numbers seem to disappear over time. Now, as far as I know, as of 2025, approximately 340 such objects have been officially confirmed, but there are probably a lot more hiding in the data. But because some of the initial observations did not reveal anything specific about these objects, this lack of data basically made it impossible to try to understand what we're looking at. So are these just tiny galaxies, bizarre black holes, compact collections of stars, or some strange energy we've never seen before? Or is this something unique to the early universe that just cannot exist anymore for some unknown reasons? But the first clues started to come out just based on the observations of the color, because they were all red, and here we're talking about a very specific red. This basically implied a lot of gas and dust surrounding something very powerful and something very massive. We actually see something very similar in a lot of different dust-obscured galaxies, especially galaxies referred to as hot dogs, hot dust-obscured galaxies, but usually not to the same extent and definitely not as bright, with some of the first pieces of evidence suggesting that this is something that contains a lot of dust. But some of the recent observations started to reveal something else that's very important. This obviously contained a lot of hydrogen gas, but here the observations revealed that the Balmer lines, or the lines produced by emission of hydrogen, were not sharp and thin as you see them right here, but were instead much wider, or basically contained very broad Balmer emission lines. Now, not all objects contain this, but at least 80% did. And this was a telltale sign that there is a lot of extremely fast-moving hydrogen that seemed to be circulating something in the center. And here, based on the thickness of this emission line, it became possible to calculate the average speed. Basically, this is actually showing us the redshift and the blue shift of the line, with the implication being that this gas orbits around something central at over 1000 kilometers per second, which really only had one explanation: a supermassive black hole. And this was a telltale sign that whatever is happening here seems to involve black hole accretion. And moreover, because things were spinning so fast, it very likely involved a black hole that was also spinning fast and was very likely growing extremely rapidly. But if these were black holes, there was still basically this unanswered question: how come we don't actually see any flares? How come there are no X-ray emissions? And why is the infrared spectrum so flat and doesn't change in brightness at all? None of this is actually expected of an active black hole, and in most cases, all other black holes are usually extremely unpredictable and produce tons of different emissions. Moreover, why do we only see these objects so far away, and why is it that nothing like this is seen closer to us? Or at least these were questions and assumptions from a few months back based on some of the previous observations. Actually, here the observations also suggested that these are really compact objects, potentially 2% the radius of the Milky Way, or basically no larger than 500 light years across, but also objects that potentially contain ultramassive black holes, possibly hundreds of millions or even billions of solar masses in mass already. And that, of course, created a new problem. How is that even possible if the universe just began so fast, so quickly, following the Big Bang? So basically, here we had some solutions right here. These were discovered by citizen scientists, and these are known as green peas. Very bizarre, very unusual objects, but this time, instead of being red, they're actually green in color, but do possess extremely similar properties and seem to exist much closer to us. And once again, the video in the description talks about this discovery more as well. And so in essence, it's quite likely that green peas and little red dots are very likely related. Or basically, the black hole that seems to contain a lot of gas and a lot of dust eventually becomes slightly bluer as a lot of this gas and dust disappears over time, with some of these transition stages being visible as these green pea galaxies. But in this recent study, we potentially have some additional answers that actually finally explain some of the other unusual discrepancies, such as how these black holes can be so massive and why we don't actually see a lot of variation in terms of infrared emissions, or basically any other emissions either. With the explanation in this case once again focusing on one specific little red dot, with this one existing when the universe was about 660 million years old. And while in essence this study essentially confirms that these are indeed super unique objects and definitely nothing like we've ever imagined, and technically qualify as their own objects and not just active galactic nuclei. With the overall explanation from the study suggesting that these are indeed massive black holes, but in this case inside extremely dense cocoons of gas that in terms of density is actually super similar to the upper atmosphere of a typical star. And the best way to imagine this is to basically literally imagine a red giant star, such as for example Betelgeuse, but in this case a star with a radius of about 40 astronomical units, but in the center of this object there is a really massive black hole that's actively feeding and is also releasing huge amounts of energy from its accretion disk, which illuminates all of the gas around it and makes all of this gas and dust glow extremely brightly. So here we're basically seeing all of this gas and all of this dust glow as a result of the central black hole emitting huge amounts of energy. And so in essence, these might be supermassive black holes surrounded by very dense gas, potentially representing progenitors of some of the earliest galaxies, and related to a process that seemed to be very common in the early universe. But definitely not something anyone expected or anyone predicted, because a lot of different models and computer simulations never actually created anything like this, or even anything remotely similar to this, implying that there is something we're missing from the galactic evolutionary models. And so our assumption that we understand what the early galaxies might have been like is obviously incorrect. And so basically this seems to be a really large ball of gas, as you can see from this image, that seems to surround a super powerful accretion disk with a very powerful black hole voraciously eating a lot of matter, very likely at its limit. We usually call this the Eddington limit, with the black hole itself containing a very hot and a very powerful disk that's responsible for all of this brightness and all of this energy. But I guess even more intriguingly, this is just a small part of the actual galaxy itself. And so even though from our point of view this resembles a little red dot, there seems to be an actual galaxy around it that's just invisible as a result of this super bright object. And so the researchers in this study now refer to this as the black hole star. And the radiation from this black hole star seems to dominate all of the other light coming from the galaxy, basically making everything else completely invisible, even though it's very likely there. But there's one more important discovery in the study that clarifies some of the previous confusion. In previous studies, this was assumed to be an overmassive black hole, possibly up to a billion solar masses in mass. This doesn't seem to be the case. These new calculations suggest that this is possibly 100,000 to maybe 10 million solar masses maximum, or essentially at least 100 times less massive than previously assumed. And that is actually great news because it doesn't mean that we need any special explanations for how these black holes are even possible, because black holes of that mass are technically predicted to exist in modern cosmology. Moreover, this seems to represent a population of rapidly growing black holes, and black holes growing ridiculously fast, potentially answering how supermassive black holes manage to get so big in certain galaxies. But the main reason we don't see anything else here, and the main reason there are no X-rays and no variations of light is really because of this super dense cocoon of gas. It seems to dominate the optical spectrum, and it basically seems to be this super bright glowing gas resembling a massive star that's very likely brighter and more powerful than anything else at that period of time. And so basically because it's so bright and so ridiculously powerful, it seems to suppress everything else. And right now this is the preferred explanation based on a lot of different studies. But it's not the only explanation, and there are obviously some alternative propositions. For example, this could still be a black hole ripping apart huge amounts of stars, basically causing an extremely massive tidal disruption event that was potentially only possible in the early universe. And because here some of the observations do actually resemble a tidal disruption event, technically this is still a possibility. Alternatively, this could also be a collection of extremely bright, very massive stars, or basically represent 10 billion solar masses of stars in a very small area all around each other, possibly serving as a precursor for some of the globular clusters or centers of various galaxies. But here it's not clear why these stars are basically not colliding and destroying each other, or why it's even possible, with scientists now believing that if we ever find additional calcium lines or calcium emission lines here, this might imply that this is indeed stars and not black holes after all. But right now, because these observations have not actually discovered anything like this yet, and because we only see hydrogen, the star explanation does not really make sense. And so I guess in conclusion, we seem to have discovered a completely new object. A massive black hole surrounded by a super thick cocoon of gas, making the whole object resemble a massive, enormous star. A star so bright, you can actually see it from approximately 30 billion light years away from planet Earth. And a star that seems to resemble an enormous giant Betelgeuse. And because they seem to be in many locations everywhere, this was potentially an extremely common phenomenon. But most importantly, because these recent explanations don't break any major rules and do not require any additional physics trying to explain.
Kunkel's Nightingale, began performing a role in Charleston, South Carolina that will take him all over the country and even have him travel to England over the course of more than 2 decades in what will come to be known as Tom shows. Tom shows were named after Uncle Tom, whom Gunkel played. Now, this version was a caricature of a black man from the antebellum South. The Tom was presented as a smiling, wide-eyed, dark-skinned butler, porter, or waiter like this.
This is the actual nightstick from the police officer that was found not guilty that broke Rodney King's knee. I got it off East Bay. Rodney, stop resisting! Stop resisting!
We have lost the plot. Charleston White has too. But what do we call this mother? A mother? He does faux mo's. We'll get back to him later. Also, no fear of missing out for those who don't want to participate in name calling. And when doing so, it's not necessary to use four-letter words for these three people. Feel free to call all black men kings or something if you want, by the way. Although, if, say, certain individuals wanted to crown a wannabe king of these United States, how could you describe them? Weird how cruel and greedy white men aren't called Simon Legree, but whatever. Judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. So let's judge him by the content of his character. He's the type of guy who will say happy birthday to himself in front of everybody. Lorenzo Sewell is the pastor at 180 Church, a black church on the outskirts of downtown Detroit, which has one of the highest percentages of minority residents among large cities in the U.S. With black claim that he let the Trump campaign know clearly that he doesn't endorse any candidate, adding, "I'm a pastor. I can't trade my spiritual influence for political influence." Along with that, I read somewhere that Sewell once praised Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for their infrastructure bill. And in an interview with Fox, he said, "It is impossible to be politically neutral." And you know what? I agree. However, I got some questions. See, we still don't know why the Trump campaign chose 180 Church and Pastor Lorenzo Sewell in a city that the former and current president said was like a living hell 4 years prior. What happened? How could this be? Was it to simply be able to get a black face to say at the 2024 Republican National Convention that Donald, quote, carry on with his benediction, Pastor Zoe dropped a crypto coin? What a disgrace. A short time afterward, Pastor Sewell, in addition to Ramon Jackson, testified before the Michigan House Election Integrity Committee. They allege systemic voter fraud in Detroit's election systems, claiming to have documentation of fraudulent absentee ballots being cast.
We have ironclad, bear-trap, hand-in-the-cookie jar proof. We have a proprietary system to detect and determine cheating in every election. And with that, I want to hand it over to the greatest political mind that has ever crossed the bridge of time.
Don't worry, he didn't present the evidence. So, when Patty Loves Truth posted that clip on Twitter, this part of the comment section took me out. So, where is it? Tomorrow morning. Why is it always tomorrow? Because it's bullshit. Wait, per reporting from Patty, before that, Ramon Jackson and Lorenzo Sewell took 80 Detroiters by bus to Washington, D.C. to raise awareness about stolen elections in their city.
So that narrative...
He's keeping all options open. And I don't need to tell my audience that election fraud claims are the price of admission to today's GOP. Kiss the ring, lick the boot. Look, I won't dismiss all he's gone through, then turning his life around while helping others do the same with theirs. A 180. Look, Pastor Lorenzo Sewell is allowed to change his mind, his political ideology, and electoral support. But where's the line between simple inconsistency and contradiction? Is this being opportunistic? Is it a grift? Is he trying to stay in the house, if you know what I mean?
Did you tell the folks that, you bitch? Did you tell them? You fat piece of shit. You want me to bring up the other writers that wouldn't work for you? Why it took you nearly 2 years to get an article out? Because you ran that shit so bad you were running it into the ground?
Moving on. The fun thing about my channel is that even my subscribers and regular viewers aren't sure of who I'm going to go into oddly specific detail on. Stephen A. Smith or Jason Whitlock? Well, it's Jason Whitlock. Stephen A. just gave us a few choice words for him that I'm not going to encourage you to use I'm just giving you options. If there's anything I would say about Jason, it's that he is decently unaware of himself. Earlier this year, he tweeted, "I'm looking at NFL standings on ESPN.com. This is the ad running above the standings. How is this possible? Appropriate? Question mark. Featuring a screenshot that he must have took with a blurred out image from Temu possibly makes the ad appropriate. This
twist your words or read too much into what you said, but being around young players energized you. That's not a statement about maybe you'd like to see some young players on your team?
Wow. You know what? That's a Bikram yoga stretch. You stretched the hell out of it. Good job. Good job. I'm not even going to answer that. That's just silly. Next.
Anyway, recently, Nick Fuentes called Jason Whitlock a token. Options. And yes, the worst person you know is right about something. Jason Whitlock is on Blaze TV in order to be the black face of conservatism, telling white people what they want to hear. Does he not know that? Something I've noticed about Jason is that he gets heavy-handed when being critical of blackness and black folks like Stephen A. Smith. But I guess the worst critique he can lob at a white person or a Republican or a person of any skin color who happens to be conservative is referring to them as a black person that he doesn't like. So when Nick Fuentes went in on him, Whitlock said Nick went full Stephen A. Smith. Then, when a guest on his show who has had experience, he lets the manosphere's first lady spout nonsense without a challenge.
I didn't find him to be. That wasn't my experience with him. Based on the interview that I did with him, he explained his opinions in depth to me. That wasn't what I took away. Oftentimes when I go on interviews, they want me to speak for every single thing he said ever. I don't know what he said before that interview. I don't know what he said after that interview. But when I interviewed him, it was a positive, it was a good interview. He was polite to my staff, which at the time was 100% black.
That racist wasn't racist around me and my staff, so I'll act like I know nothing about all he has said or done prior to being in my presence. Pick me, Pearl Davis, who wants to get chosen by incels, but that's not exactly what they do, later did math on how black the crew she hired was, 7 or 8 people. And it took her longer than it should have. Both Jason Whitlock and Pick Me Pearl are interviewing people on their shows without doing homework on them first, along with asking questions about subjects they haven't looked into themselves. Jason may not have smoke for you depending on your complexion. Speaking of,
how does she get that job? How does she even get that opportunity? Because she's got a big pair of cans and she's, according to Sheen, she's willing to let people enjoy those big cans of hers.
Joy Taylor, a former colleague of his, is named in a lawsuit right along with, I think, Fox Sports, one of their executives, a hairdresser, another host, and another host. She allegedly had sex with at least 2 of the people I just mentioned 2 seconds ago. Try to figure out which 2. In order to become a host on Fox Sports 1. And of course, Whitlock believes that. He implied that Taylor and Emmanuel Acho conspired to get him off of the desk on FS1's Speak for Yourself, which he used to host with Marcellus Wiley, even though his timeline seems a little off. Plus,
that big rack of hers that she showed off constantly. It's just, and that peanut butter skin with that big rack. Like, Jay, keep your dick.
But was she capable of letting him near her? Jason Whitlock isn't aware of himself. Not realistic. Oh, and there was a time when Joy Taylor went on Instagram and trolled Trump. Whitlock said she needs to stop it. She's going to turn into Jemele Hill. Going back to his self-own, he concluded that R-word people think my search history is the real story here. My history is no mystery. Corporate grooming is the story. So close. I will give him credit for acknowledging his shortcomings in an open way. He wasn't shy about his, quote, former love of strip clubs and debauchery, wasting hours on Instagram looking at Brittany Renner. And hey, she apparently has a hold on what would be considered a tom.
Better than me.
Miss Ma'am.
No,
Miss
come on,
Ma'am.
please. Come on, man, please. Come on,
I
man,
need you
please.
I need you to know he was a comedian. So there's that. But perhaps his persona on podcast isn't who he really is. See, according to him, that's not real life.
It's always somebody said online. Everybody's complaint is what I've said online. It ain't what I've done in real life. It ain't what I've said in real life. Man, he said this. And that's what they stuck on.
What he says and does online makes him seem like the textbook definition of an Uncle Tom, a black person who is overeager to win the approval of whites. Peep the part about acceptance of white values and goals. He is involved in community outreach, mentoring at-risk youth, and advocating against gang violence. I'll give him that. It's just that I know and I've met and I've come across thousands of Biden and Harris voters, but I don't think I've ever seen one of their supporters because being fans of a politician is weird. Even if they were, what are they cheering for? Yet, leftists are called Uncle Toms by the people who are marking themselves with the white man's brand. The idea that comes from the right is that merchandising is normal. This is the standard?
Now you're a Trump supporter.
Very much so. Yes,
So
sir.
you're real vocal about it.
Yes, sir.
Trump hat,
Yes,
Trump
sir.
mask,
Socks.
socks.
Yeah.
What else?
T-shirts.
T-shirts.
I got a Trump. I left my wallet. I got a card, a presidential advisory committee Trump card. All that, man. First president I ever heard say he grabbed women by the and he didn't apologize for it. That was a man to me, man.
I'm certain that there is some Democrat somewhere that we could deem a faithful, happily submissive servant, a dependable,
I mean, that is dropped in the middle of this pleading on page 13 for no apparent reason. You know, could it be that Donald Trump's friends, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.
What is up, everybody? My name is Hudson. Welcome back to The Binding of Isaac Repentance. Today, we're going to be checking out a modded character called Gambler. This comes to us from a mod called Playable Machines. Play as the Gambler, the most ludopathic machine ever. Pick up coins to have a chance to spawn one of these possible rewards. Coins, random pickup, increase your jackpot probability. You can also spend your coins or health to use your pocket item to have a chance to spawn one of these possible rewards too. What's the jackpot? Random item from the current room that you're in. We look great, by the way. Let's go. Dead Tooth. Isaac had to crash the video from an alternate universe just to show how disappointed he is in having Dead Tooth. Now we're a stinky machine. Let me get my stink on you. Come on in. Poison's not bad, you know, if we could actually use this consistently, that'd be great if we get like iframes or something. All right, so we picked up a coin there. Aw, dang it, didn't give us anything besides the fact that we now have a 1% chance for a jackpot to happen. We're gonna be looking for economic items right now, including but not limited to the one and only Boar Etruscan might be one of the greatest things that we could possibly find. I mean, ever in general, but in this run specifically. Tinted rocks, are they worth it? Oh, we don't really need soul hearts. Not too much money to go around here. First floor. Wouldn't mind getting a nice trinket such as Lucky Rock, something that could potentially give us more money. Swallowed penny, anything economic. The more money we get, the more items we will get. The more money we get, the happier we will be. First boss down, easy peasy. Could use my 5 cents right now to use my ludopatia, which, by the way, is a Spanish word that means gambling addiction, I believe. But I think I might want to get an arcade next floor instead. Seller 2, be kinder to me. There we go. I need the money. 2% jackpot chance. Ooh, here we go. Locked room has got... Okay, consumable, got my health back. Maybe I should wait on this because I suppose I could go into my curse room right now. Hopefully not take any damage in here. Please, don't. Could you give me something good here? Paralysis pill. I'll be safe and use this one outside of the room. Speed down. I take the pennies, try to get my health back, maybe? 4% jackpot, health back. Okay. Same thing with the other ones. If I get like a sack spike or something like that, might as well try to use them to give me my health back. Treasure room, Lacryphagy, a very, very interesting item. Not very good, I think, on its own. It's kind of like a pop of sorts, but really goes crazy with certain other items. Don't you trite me right now, not in this stupid room. Probably don't want to go into my devil deal. I think it's going to cost health and not money. If I get a health upgrade here, I might think about it. We can't have up to a maximum of 9 health, but Angel will probably just be the safer route in general here. Caffeine pill. Well, that's not what I need at all. Are you a wizard? Great. Pick up the rest of our money. 6% jackpot chance. Would I play this guy? I do need some bombs. Do you have any bombs? I don't want your health, although that's kind of spicy. See if there's a bomb for sale for secret room, maybe. Secret room oftentimes has bombs in it. The secret room, please. Yo, that's cool. Maybe it wasn't close enough for the secret room, but I'm pretty sure it was. Porter was incredibly lucky. It doesn't do anything for my jackpot chance. You'd think that that should do something. That should be like an auto jackpot or something. Boxo trinkets. Yeah, let's just see if we can't get an economic trinket this way. Not too much going on. First couple floors there. Blood donation machine. I don't see myself using this. Maybe if I got something that gave me some iframes, I would consider. Ultra Pride. Not happy to fight this boss right here, right now. It's actually a tough boss. Okay, I can just walk into him. Golden Heart might save my life here. Yeah, we're going down here. Holy smokes. Bye-bye Angel chance. Dude, what do you do against this mini-boss? Die horribly is the only option. I absolutely despise this mini-boss. Yikes, dude. First room? No. Petrified poop. There we go. That's economic. Prayer card, though. Would I take Eternal Hearts instead? Eternal Hearts don't work for this character. I'm dying. I'm absolutely dying. I hate this room. It's gonna be tough to hold on to our Angel chance. We essentially just have to take no damage on a floor. Oh, okay. Bring it on, bud. We're so weak right now. Give me something. Tears up? Pretty much. Bombs are nice. That was health back. Boss is Pestilence. All right. Only a 10% Angel chance. Don't speak too soon. Don't get hit. Don't get hit. Don't get hit. Oh my goodness, we got it. The ball of band. No, the Angel room. What did we get out of the Angel room? Book of Revelations would be maybe to farm a ball bandage. I'm gonna go with the health and damage. I have 33 coins and a 9% jackpot chance. We could spend 5 cents to do the Ludopatia. Pill. Nothing. A bunch of nothing. Balls. Yo! It worked! Jackpot back down to 0%. We got Holy Brim Pill. Speed up. Nice. Let's go, baby. Oh, with Hungry Tears, we get like a little half laser and then it shoots out shots that turn into pop shots. Kind of cool, kind of lame. Also a Soul of Cain. Soul of Cain in this very large room to get the most amount of red doors possible. Probably not gonna get the ultra secret, but more rooms, chance for more money. Yeah, that's a nickel. Oh, is that ultra? That looks like ultra secret room to me. Free bombs, tinted rock, and the ultra, which has the pact. Fantastic. Challenge room. I'm in. I was hoping for money. Now we start over, trying to raise our jackpot chance. 11% jackpot. 45 cents. I might actually go directly to my secret room and see if I couldn't pull off a secret room jackpot. Could you do it? Yes, he can. 99 bombs. I would be happy to have the 99 bombs, honestly. It would be silly for me to try to send my Ludopatia right now because my jackpot is 0%. So we should pick up the coins naturally on the ground, up our jackpot chance, then go for it. Top secret room has got a confessional. Oh man, maybe I should have played this instead. I just grabbed all the money on the floor. All right, next. Dice room, what say you? 3. Okay, we could probably use that. A bunch of pots as well. Should we blow those up? Don't want the spiders, no thank you. Just lost my Angel chance because of that, you douche. Sad bombs with 99? Yeah, bomb build, I guess. Jackpot! Got jackpot not in a special room, but we did get a free fruity plum here. That was a 3% chance jackpot. Bombs are key pill. Okay, there goes our bombs. 96 keys, still pretty cool. And a greed fight. We gotta pay out here, starter deck. I like the idea of finding a goat pill, but maybe starter deck is better? Lovers? No. Let's take with...
At the time the script was written, sea serpents have long been Yu-Gi-Oh's least populous original typing. With only 93 sea serpents in the TCG, there are a greater number of both psychics and worms, and those typings were introduced later in the game's history. However, though the sea serpents don't have quantity, there are some really good ones lurking out there in Yu-Gi-Oh's deep waters. But those monsters aren't what this list is about. Instead of the best, we're running down the worst. So instead of Brionac, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, we're talking about Brionac, the Magical Ice Dragon. Getting this list off to a not so hot start at number 10, this level 6 water attribute Sea Serpent Synchro from 2024's Battle of Legend Terminal Revenge has 2300 attack and 1400 defense, the same stat line as Brionac, Dragon of the Ice Barrier from 2009's Hidden Arsenal. Also, like the original Brionac, Brionac 2 can bounce cards back to the hand. While the Dragon of the Ice Barrier's effect is Ignition Speed, the Magical Ice Dragon's effect activates when it's synchro summoned or brought back from the graveyard. All of their effects are once per turn, but one of these cards has seen way more competitive play than the other. That's because 2009 Brionac can target and bounce multiple cards by discarding the same amount as it costs to activate its effect. 2024 Brionac can only target one card using each of its effects. But while the new version has less board-breaking potential than the old, it does have a few things going for it. By summoning Brionac, the Magical Ice Spirit Dragon, during your opponent's turn, you can use its bounce effect for interruption, and you don't even have to target your opponent's cards. The Magical Ice Dragon can be used to recur continuous back row and call your own monsters back to the hand. This actually makes it able to occupy a similar niche to the old Ice Barrier Synchro, Duloran, Tiger of the Ice Barrier. But ultimately, Brionac, the Magical Ice Dragon's required discard cost renders it just another pale imitation. You're probably better off with the old Ice Barrier Synchros from 15 years ago than with Brionac, the Magical Ice Dragon. Still, it's not a bad card in a vacuum, which is why it lands solidly at the bottom of this worst of list. At least Brionac has a less important non-archetype retrain. After all, Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, got Trishula, the Dragon of Icy Imprisonment, but Gungnir got nothing. And at number 9, we have another ill-fated evolution that got way less attention than the original card, Ocean Dragon Lord Neodedulus. With 8 levels, 2900 attack, and 1600 defense, this water serpent might seem decent before you start reading its text. First releasing as the cover card for the 2005 structure deck Fury from the Deep, Neodedulus cannot be normal summoned or set. Instead, it can only be special summoned by offering one Levi Dragon Daedalus as a tribute. Once on the field, Ocean Dragon Lord can send an Umi you control to the graveyard to send all other cards on the field and in both players' hands to the graveyard. This is a huge activation game-winning effect if you can pull it off. And it's easier now than it's ever been, since Neodedalus can be searched by cards like Atlantean Dragoons, Animadored Archosaur, and more. The original Levy Dragon Daedalus can be cheated out of the deck using cards like Red Flying Carp and Ninjutsu Art of Super Transformation, but most of all, Abyss Shrine, the Atlantean Spirit. For the final component of the Neodedalus tidal wave, we have Umi, and there are so many ways to get that card, or a card that can become it, on the field. But even with all of these new tools at the Ocean Dragon Lord's disposal, summoning and resolving Neodedalus still isn't easy, because he doesn't have any inherent protection, and neither do Levy Dragon Daedalus and most Umis. Sea Stealth 2 guards your water monsters against the targeting effects of your opponent's non-water monsters, but it itself is vulnerable. Without an Umi, Ocean Dragon Lord Neodedalus is just another stat stick that loses to Dark Magician plus reinforcements. And then you have to consider its competition. Why waste time and resources fishing for Neodedalus when you can instead have Levy Dragon on the field and primed for a board wipe? By sending Umi to the graveyard, Levi Dragon Daedalus is able to send all of the cards on the field to the grave. And while Neodedalus ripping from your hand is an attractive idea, you're probably better served using the card in your hand to build more sustainable advantage, even if you succeed in resolving a huge Neodedalus activation and reduce the match to a simplified game state. 2900 attack is usually not enough to pull off a quick win, meaning in most cases you'll be stuck playing top deck roulette with your opponent until someone draws a starter. But we do have more fun side stuff to mention about Leviah than Neodedalus. The Leviah part of Leviah Dragon's name is a reference to Leviathan, a multi-headed biblical sea monster and counterpart of the Behemoth, the beast of the land, and the Ziz, the beast of the sky. The Daedalus part of these monsters' names comes from the HMS Daedalus, a warship from the 19th century that sailed from England's Royal Navy. Captain Peter McHugh reported that on August 6th of 1848, the entire crew witnessed a huge, lithe, and serpentine creature while traveling between the Cape of Good Hope and St. Helena. Luckily, whatever they encountered was not Ocean Dragon Lord Neodaedalus, because with that powerful board clear hand rib effect, they probably wouldn't have made it home. Surfacing at number 8, we have Orca Mega Fortress of Darkness. This level 5 water sea serpent has 2100 attack and 1200 defense, and first released in the 2004 set Invasion of Chaos. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Like the elephant, orcas are actually mammals, which makes Orca Mega Fortress of Darkness typing kind of confusing. Not only is there nothing snake-like or vaguely draconic about Orca Mega Fortress of Darkness, it's technically wrong to even call this whale a fish, like what happened with other whale fortress monsters. Orca would probably make more sense as an aqua-type monster, but that's not what earns its spot on this list. There are two things you can do with Orca Mega Fortress of Darkness. You can tribute a torpedo fish you control to target and destroy a monster, and you can tribute a cannonball spear shellfish you control to target and destroy a spell or trap. Both torpedo fish and cannonball spear shellfish have 1000 attack and defense, and are unaffected by spell cards while Umi is on the field. Though, utilizing its effect to bombard your opponent's front and back row is a very slow process, it is a cool effect, and really sells the picture of an Orca Mega Fortress of Darkness at the center of your field, shelling your opponent with smaller projectile monsters. In fact, it's a little misleading to place Orca on this list at all. But at the end of the day, there aren't that many sea serpent monsters, and to keep things interesting, I don't want it to just fill this list with a bunch of normals from 20 years ago. Arguably, Orca's effect is not strong enough in the modern game to make up for losing access to Kyroshin's Dark Reef and Fish Sonar, which can summon normal monsters from the deck. On the field, normals might not do much, but they are useful for extra deck summons, and Water Swarm decks in particular love those. Still, Orca does see some play in GOAT format, where the lowered power ceiling gives the card some room to maneuver. With a Legendary Ocean to skip the tribute requirement, and Salvage to reload ammunition, Orca Water Aggro is a workable deck. Orca also has a few artwork appearances to its name. Pictured in the aforementioned Salvage, Orca Mega Fortress of Darkness can also be found in Big Wave Small Wave, Return from the Different Dimension, Heartless Drop-Off, and Alive Twin Channel. Additionally, Orca's own artwork features several other monsters, including Torpedo Fish and Cannonball Spear Shellfish, of course, but also Amphibious Berghoff MK3. But as cool as all of those features are, and already considering its usage in GO format, Orca Mega Fortress of Darkness is still one of the worst sea serpents of all time. Koiki Miru Sea Panther is the number 7 pick for this list, and might have the best stats of all low-level sea serpent monsters with 1900 and 1200 defense. But don't let that fool you. Koiki Miru Sea Panther's effect makes it very difficult to use. Released in 2009 Stardust Overdrive set alongside other Koiki Miru support like Maximus and Rooklord, Sea Panther has seen no competitive play. But this hardly makes it unique amongst the Koiki Miru archetype. One of the few occasions when these cards did see experimentation, usage was mostly relegated to cards with stronger effects, like Koiki Miru Knight and Koiki Miru Drago. Koiki Miru Crusader also saw some play, but that was mostly because of its Beast Warrior typing, which supported the strategy starter Knight. But why does that matter? Well, the narrative behind the Koiki Miru cards is that they are all powered by the iron core of Koiki Miru. Without this, or other power streams to sustain them, the Koiki Mirus crumble. In effect terms, this is represented by many of the Koiki Miru monsters destroying themselves during your end phase, unless you are able to discard an iron core of Koiki Miru, or reveal a specific type of card from your hand. For Knight, the revealed requirement is a Beast Warrior, to the benefit of Koiki Miru Crusader. Sea Panther's reveal requirement is a water attribute monster, which seems easier than a specific underrepresented typing. But there are only 2 in-archetype options for you to support your Sea Panther, Koiki Miru Ice and Koiki Miru Hydro Barrier. While Crusader makes an ideal partner for Knight because it also requires a Beast Warrior reveal, Sea Panther and its potential pairings are mismatched. Ice requires you to reveal a continuous spell, and Hydro Barrier has no requirements, which is pretty good, but its effect isn't the best. Having this built-in self-destruct mechanism does Koiki Miru Sea Panther no favors. But what happens if you manage to keep it on the field? Once per turn, you can discard an Iron Core of Koiki Miru to return 1 spell from your graveyard to the top of your deck. It's like Magician of Faith, but worse, and in the Synchro era instead of in classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Ambitious players might be able to control Koa Chimera Sea Panther with cards like Destiny Hero Diamond Dude and Archfiend's Oath, and a true mad scientist may someday brew a Koa Chimera Sea Panther FTK using the Winged Dragon of Ra, Black Pendant, and Reversal Quiz. But until that day, Koa Chimera Sea Panther can rest here at number 8 on this list of bad sea serpents. And at number 6, we have the level 6 Water Sea Serpent Aqua Dragon. One of the few fusion monsters not to share typing with any of its materials, this achievement is made more impressive because Aqua Dragon is a combination of 3 monsters rather than the standard 2. If you don't want to use shortcuts to summon this effectless beat stick with 2250 attack and 1900 defense, you'll have to use polymerization to merge Fairy Dragon, Amazon of the Seas, and a Zone Eater. But being a non-effect fusion monster isn't so bad, right? Well, kinda. You can cheat out Aqua Dragon using Ready Fusion, but there aren't many situations where this play would be optimal. And because Aqua Dragon is above level 5, it's not even a valid target for instant fusion. It's possible that someday Aqua Dragon might see more play if a new Sea Serpent archetype emerges from the depths, one that synergizes with a free level 6 fusion body. Until then, Aqua Dragon is at best a fun vanity inclusion for strategies that don't need every deck slot in their extra deck. But hey, at least it's not taking up space in the main deck. Even though no one's out here summoning Aqua Dragon the right way using all of its materials, it's worth talking about them for a second to further illustrate why Aqua Dragon belongs on this list. Fairy Dragon is a level 4 Wind Dragon normal monster with 1100 attack. Amazon of the Seas is a level 4 Water Fish with 1300. And Zone Eater is a level 2 Water Aqua with 250 attack, and a useless effect. Aqua Dragon and Zone Eater entered the TCG in December of 2006 as part of the second wave of McDonald's promo cards. But even if you were able to get copies of them, you had no way yet of correctly fusing Aqua Dragon, since Fairy Dragon and Amazon of the Seas didn't exist in the TCG at the time. 6 months after the McDonald's run, Fairy Dragon would print as a common in Champion Pack 3 in May of 2007, and the final piece, Amazon of the Seas, wouldn't enter the TCG until January of 2008 as part of Champion Pack 5. This means that at the time of release, none of these cards were available from traditional sets, and only Amazon of the Seas has seen a reprint as a script writing, with that being as a common in Astral Pack 6. While this exclusivity doesn't impact Aqua Dragon's TCG performance, since it wasn't really performing anyway, it is interesting, but you can't say that it makes the card better. Still, adding it to your extra deck for lulz won't make your draws any worse, so it'll take a spot on the lower half of this list. And roaring into number 5 is a card even more exclusive than Aqua Dragon and its materials. Sea King Dragon is a level 6 Water Sea Serpent with 2000 attack, 1700 defense, and no effect that never made the jump from OCG to the TCG. Sea King Dragon is one of those cards that printed in the OCG back in 1999, but never made the jump to the TCG. Though you can play it in many Yu-Gi-Oh games. But even if it was in the TCG, it'd have a few factors counted against it. Firstly, 2000 attack for a level 6 isn't super great, especially when Summon Skull has been part of the game since 2002's Metal Raiders. But Sea King Dragon's level makes it even more awkward. Were it just one level lower at 5 and not a level 6, it would have been a valid normal summon under a Legendary Ocean, which drops the levels of all water monsters in the field and in hand by 1. Although you can still use Kairyu-Shin's Dark Reef or Fish Sonar to summon Sea King Dragon from the deck, and Sea Stealth 2 can temporarily call it out from the hand or grave, losing access to its normal summon under Legendary Ocean is unfortunate. Even Spike Seadra gets that, and at least Kairyu-Shin has artwork synergy with modern Umi support cards. Interestingly, Sea King Dragon was the first sea serpent to appear in the Duel Monsters anime. Although it was never summoned, this card makes a brief cameo appearance in the contents of Seto Kaiba's briefcase when he's trying to convince Yugi's grandpa to part with the 4th Blue Eyes White Dragon in episode 1. Moving out to spot number 4, we have Caravan of the Ice Barrier, a level 1 water sea serpent with 500 attack and 200 defense. Like other cards in the Dual Terminal world, Caravan of the Ice Barrier entered the TCG widely as part of the Hidden Arsenal, in this case 2010's Hidden Arsenal 3. At first, Caravan of the Ice Barrier seems like it would probably be pretty decent. Its effect lets you recycle Ice Barrier monsters from your graveyard and draw a card. But while that's pretty nice, it also lets your opponent draw a card, which really hurts its usability. Caravan actually has 3 similar counterparts from other archetypes. They all work a little different, but are joined by the common theme of restocking your deck while drawing 1. On summon, Scrap Recycler can dump a machine from deck to grave, and then can also activate its ignition effect once per turn to shuffle back 2 level 4 Earth machines from grave to deck and draw a card. Cam, Serenity of Gusto, has a similar effect, able to shuffle 2 Gusto monsters from grave once per turn to draw 1. Naturia Marone is a Foolish Burial for a Naturia monster on summon, and can also shuffle 2 Naturia monsters from grave back to the deck to draw 1 card. But what Scrap Recycler, Cam, Serenity of Gusto, and Naturia Marone all don't do is give your opponent a free draw. And Scrap Recycler in particular is just generally good in decks that truck with machines in the grave, like Orcus. Caravan of the Ice Barrier, on the other hand, has seen no such favor. And even after 2022's Structure Deck Freezing Chains and 2024's Ice Barrier Legacy support, no play. This card would have been completely fine if it weren't held back by its effect to let your opponent draw. If you cut the words each other out of its card text, it would probably see experimentation in modern Ice Barrier strategies, and definitely wouldn't have ranked number 8 on this list. But that's not what happened, and we're done talking about it. Time for us to gather our things and leave the caravan behind. Hope Brinniger's not too salty about making this list, because this level 7 Water Sea Serpent from the 2019 set Chaos Impact is all the way up here at number 3. With 1000 attack and 2600 defense baseline, Brinniger seems pretty bad. It's a high level and probably not worth the steep 2 tribute cost, but let's see what it can do. On summon, Brinniger can target a water monster in your grave and gain attack points equal to the attack of that target. This happens with both normal and special summon, which does open up a few more options with the card. If the effect was normal summon exclusive, we might have been talking about it at the top of this list. Instead, Brinniger is just number 3, because the attack boost only lasts until the end of the turn. And then you have a monster with 7 stars and a disappointing stat line. But Brinniger has one more trick. When it's sent to the graveyard, it can target a water monster you control and confer 1000 extra attack points until the end of the turn. While this effect isn't bad, it is a little convoluted for not a lot of benefit. Sure, it's a nice consultation prize after you send your Brinniger away for extract summon or discard it for effect, but you'll struggle to get value out of this interaction if Brinniger gets destroyed during your opponent's turn, since the attack boost will fizzle before your next battle phase. This is all pretty underwhelming, especially for a card from as late as 2019. But Brinniger has one special factor almost no other card has. It'd just be wrong for me not to mention Hito Denchok, the level 2 Water Aqua Normal from the OCG with 600 attack and 700 defense, and acid that could melt allegedly almost anything, and also rabies. Brinniger looks pretty intimidating, but it's the hidden Hito Denchok that gets you. And swimming in at number 2, we have Guardian KS, a level 4 Water Attribute Sea Serpent monster with 1000 attack and 1800 defense. She arrived in the 2003 set Dark Crisis and has seen no competitive play for good reason. Like many other members of the Guardian archetype, Guardian KS cannot be normal summoned under normal conditions. And this isn't just a restriction on normal summoning. Guardian KS cannot be summoned at all unless you control a face-up copy of her paired equip spell Rod of Silence KS. That's actually the main mechanic of the Guardian archetype, although it's really less of a mechanic and more of an artificial obstacle. This means that in order to summon Guardian KS, you must first fish from your deck and then equip Rod of Silence KS to a monster that's already on the field. But there is one Guardian summonable loophole. Since they can still be set, if you're determined to use KS or another old Guardian card, you can set them first in defense position and then flip them face up on your next turn. Sadly, this doesn't help their case much because doing so is really inconvenient. But what can KS do once she's actually on the field? Nothing, and a lot of it. She's completely immune to spell effects and cannot be targeted for attacks, which seems pretty cool until you get to the next part of her effect, where you learn that she also doesn't prevent your opponent from attacking directly. Generally, you want your monsters to defend your life points, and that's something Guardian KS is completely unable to do. Though this does provide another reason to set Guardian KS. She can at least act as a roadblock between your opponent and your life points in face-down defense mode. Now, let's look at Rod of Silence KS. This card grants the equipped monster 500 extra defense points, and negates and destroys any other spells that target its holder. This actually isn't bad, but ironically won't provide any extra points to Guardian KS. Your Guardians don't usually wind up holding their favorite weapon, but even if you use Taylor the Fickle to shift Guardian of Silence KS onto KS, the Guardian spell immunity would prevent her stats from changing. Ultimately, Guardian KS has a cool design, but that's about it. This is almost as close to a monster that doesn't exist on field as you can get. Still, KS doesn't take up much space. She's just one card, and you might find other uses for the equip spells that come with her, unlike the next card, who takes up a ton of space while being about as impactful as Guardian KS. You might realize this number one's pick from the other duologue's worst of lists, including top 10 worst water monsters of all time, top 10 worst level 8s of all time, and coming back for a three-peat, Water Dragon is here to cement its legacy as the number one worst sea serpent by taking the top of this list. A level 8 water sea serpent with 2800 attack and 2600 defense from the 2005 set Elemental Energy, Water Dragon cannot be normal summoned or set, and can only be special summoned with Bonding H2O, and a couple of other cards that specifically ignore its heinous summoning conditions. More on those in a sec. While Water Dragon is on the field, the attack of all fire and pyro monsters becomes 0, and if Water Dragon is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, it can float into its component parts, demolecularizing into 2 Hydrogen Dawns and 1 Oxygen Dawn revived from the graveyard. In theory, Water Dragon could be a decent modern card. We've got some dedicated support that can call it out, an on-field floodgate effect, and a floating effect to recoup advantage after it's gone. Where Water Dragon really goes wrong is everywhere, because every aspect of its effect is very difficult to use for no reason. Let's start with its summoning condition. This spell, originally intended to summon Water Dragon, Bonding H2O, is laughably bad. It's a normal spell that tributes an Oxygen Dawn and 2 Hydrogen Dawns you control to summon Water Dragon from your hand, deck, or grave. This is a wild amount of cards to trade for a boss monster that's not very good. Water Dragon's anti-fire and anti-pyro floodgate effect is kind of interesting, especially with the resurgence of really good fire cards in recent years. But it's still an incredibly narrow effect that would be better served in your side deck to counter specific matchups. This is, of course, a niche that Water Dragon struggles to fill. Good luck splashing this card and everything else you'll need to support it in the side deck. Finally, the floating effect. Like the rest of the card, it's not good. Your best bet is probably to destroy Water Dragon during your own turn so you can use those free bodies for an XC summon or a link spam, which makes you ask, why summon Water Dragon in the first place? This spell, Bonding D2O, is one of your more reliable paths to Water Dragon since it allows you to tribute 2 Duotreons and 1 Oxygen Dawn from hand or field to summon Water Dragon from anywhere but banishment. But while this is an improvement over Bonding H2O, it doesn't solve the problem of Water Dragon's resource sink. On top of that, Bonding D2O to summon Water Dragon can interfere with its floating effect since you aren't guaranteed to have any Hydrogen Dawns in grave. Water Dragon Cluster is a level 10 Water Sea Serpent with 2800 attack and 2600 defense that almost fixes Water Dragon. It also cannot be normal summoned or set, and must be special summoned by a bonding spell or trap. For Cluster, that means either Bonding D2O or the trap Bonding DHO. When Water Dragon Cluster is summoned, all of your opponent's effect monsters are negated and have their attack stats zeroed out. And this works with all effect monsters, not just a specific attribute or type. Bonding DHO functions a little differently from Bonding's H2O and D2O since it shuffles a Duotreon, a Hydrogen Dawn, and an Oxygen Dawn from grave to summon specifically Water Dragon Cluster from hand or grave. It'd be nice if Bonding DHO could also summon Cluster from deck, but it can't, even if you banish DHO from the graveyard to add a Water Dragon or Cluster from deck to hand. As a quick effect, Water Dragon Cluster contributes itself to summon 2 Water Dragons from hand and or deck, and that's pretty cool. In fact, there could have been some OTK potential here, since all 3 monsters have 2800 attack, and that's enough to take your opponent's life points from starting value to death. Unfortunately, Water Dragon Cluster has to summon its 2 Water Dragons in defense position, so that's just not gonna happen. But never say never. Water Dragon would probably need Yubel levels of legacy support to rebuild its archetype from the ground up, but that's what happened to Yubel. And they're both GX era cards. Sadly for Water Dragon's 2 to 3 fans, Bastion Misawa, the anime duelist who used Water Dragon, is less interesting than Yubel, the anime duelist who used Yubel. At least Water Dragon gets spot number 1 on this list for being the number 1 nowhere else. Alright, and that's the list. But more Yu-Gi-Oh! Sea Serpents must work out there in the card steps. So if I forgot your favorite,
uncomfortable or uncomfortably unpredictable, because we've already seen reports of U.S. citizens detained at the border. We've seen U.S. citizens held and questioned for hours without even being told why. We've seen a spike in the stories from folks who are dual nationals or have names that look or sound foreign, or maybe they speak with an accent. Stories of those folks being pulled aside, treated like suspects at their own country's border. And what immigration attorneys are telling me, the ones that are paying attention, is that naturalized citizens, people like me, in Trump's second term, with the return of these Stephen Miller style policies, we just need to be careful. Some are saying if you leave, have legal representation lined up, know exactly which immigration lawyer you will call, and that they will be available to take your call in case you end up in one of these situations. Think of it, legal representation to re-enter a country you are a citizen of. Now, what is the goal here? I don't believe that it is to actually deport U.S. citizens. Not yet, anyway, even though Trump is talking about it. What they want is fear. Intimidation is the goal. Give these folks, people like me, when you're streaming HD content online, we end up terrified and humiliated. And then why is Pete Hegseth's wife getting plans texted to her? Let's try to figure that out next. Apparently, handing out sensitive military information to your spouse is now normal, at least in Pete Hegseth's Pentagon. We have another signal chat fiasco. The New York Times is now reporting that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth used a private signal chat, another one, to share detailed information about American airstrikes in Yemen. This includes the flight schedules of FA-18s with a group that included his wife, his brother, and his personal lawyer. None of them have a legitimate interest or a legitimate reason to be looped into real-time military operations, but here we are again. This was not an accidental group chat mix-up. This was a second, entirely separate signal chat created by Hegseth himself called Defense Team Huddle. Yeah. He used his private phone. Another everything that we accuse them of doing, we are doing ourselves. He used his private phone to run it. It included a dozen or so people from Hegseth's personal circle, not government officials. One of those people is Pete Hegseth's wife, Jennifer, who used to be a producer for Fox News, not a Defense Department employee, not someone with a legitimate reason to be looped in on this stuff. However, she's been joining him on foreign trips. She's been attending sensitive meetings and now apparently gets military briefings in group texts like it's a neighborhood carpool update. Who's bringing the Girl Scout cookies? And by the way, here's where the FA-18s are going to be. This is not a joke. It's not a policy disagreement. It's not a difference over the vision of America's role in the world. This is a breach of basic security standards, and they're doing it again. And they insisted that Hillary couldn't be trusted with stuff, and Biden can't be trusted, and Kamala couldn't be trusted. But this is where we are, and it's not the first time. Of course, last month, Hegseth making those headlines for sharing the Yemen strike details with the editor of The Atlantic. That, I want to be clear, that was a different signal chat fiasco. That one was created by Trump's National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. Also a debacle. At least that one was supposed to be for government use. This one isn't. This is some sort of bizarre private back channel set up before Hegseth was even confirmed, never migrated to a secure official communications tool, even after he became Secretary of Defense. Now, according to insiders, he was even warned, do not share sensitive information there. He did it anyway. What did the White House say when the story broke? No classified information was shared. This is their fallback defense. It's not a very good one, because a lot of this information is supposed to be classified per the guidelines at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. They've wrongly not classified some of this stuff and then are saying this is no big deal because it's not classified. A blanket denial that it violates any rules. If you ask former defense officials about what was shared, launch times, aircraft types, target details, It's all supposed to be classified. It's operational. It's dangerous. They say we are the national security people. We keep everybody safe, but they are creating yet another national security risk here. And you've got a man with no high-level government experience before this year running the Pentagon like it's a group project for friends and family. His former Fox News producer wife, brother is in the chat, personal lawyer. It's not just unprofessional. It's completely reckless. And maybe the most humiliating part globally is that they're not even embarrassed. They're going, no, it's fine. Nothing classified was shared because we wrongly didn't classify it. Pathetic, almost as humiliating as Donald Trump's Easter messages. No one ever mistook Trump for being a particularly cunning linguist, but his latest Easter post and video are downright nuts, nuttier than squirrel poop. Here's Donald Trump with you. You can really tell Trump is deeply spiritual as you listen to him deliver this Easter message.
Easter Sunday, we celebrate his glorious resurrection and proclaim, as Christians have done for nearly 2,000 years, he is risen. Through the pain and sacrifice of Jesus on the cross, we saw God's boundless love and devotion to all humanity. And in that moment of his resurrection, history was forever changed with the promise of everlasting life.
Right.
As we approach this joyous Easter Sunday, I want to wish Christians everywhere a happy and beautiful and blessed holiday. America is a nation of believers. We need God. We want God. And with his help, we will make our nation stronger, safer, greater, and more prosperous, and much more united than ever before.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone, and have a really happy Easter.
You can tell that Trump really means it. You can tell that he really connects with what he's saying, and he is just genuinely a deeply spiritual person. I don't mean any of that. And then we go to the Truth Social post that he put up, truly a blood-soaked, grammatically unstable rage manifesto that he put up on his own platform, Truth Central. Take a look at this. Happy Easter to all, including the radical left lunatics who are fighting and scheming so hard to bring murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, the mentally insane and well-known MS-13 gang members and wife beaters back into our country. Now, we're barely a sentence in. He starts accusing his political opponents of conspiring to unleash murderers and gang members. That is not a policy critique. That's what you would expect as the result of a brain worm. And in case you were wondering, there is no left-wing plan to import wife beaters. It's just projection. Trump continuing, Happy Easter also to the weak and ineffective judges and law enforcement officials who are allowing this sinister attack on our nation to continue, an attack so violent that it will never be forgotten. Now, Trump is attacking judges and law enforcement because they're investigating him, not because crime's out of control, but because Trump is personally, at least theoretically, facing some consequences, and that must mean the system is corrupt. This is not criticism of power. This is a wannabe autocrat demanding loyalty from the people who are supposed to check his power. He then turns his ire to Biden, where he says Sleepy Joe Biden purposefully allowed millions of criminals to enter our country totally unvetted and unchecked through an open borders policy that will go down in history as the single most calamitous act ever perpetrated upon America. He was by far our worst and most incompetent president, a man who had absolutely no idea what he was doing, but to him and to the person that ran and manipulated the auto pen, perhaps our real president, and to all the people who cheated in the 2020 presidential election in order to get this highly destructive moron elected, I wish you, with great love, sincerity, and affection, a very happy Easter. No evidence at all about the claims regarding Biden, just like a string of randomly capitalized words and panic bait, as well as agit trash. And let's not gloss over, of course, that this is how fascist movements talk. Not with facts, but with apocalyptic fiction used to justify extreme responses, which is exactly what the Trump administration is doing. Trump is still, by the way, peddling the big lie, even in his holiday greeting of 2025. Trump is insisting he won an election nearly 5 years ago, which of course he lost. Some saw this and said, oh, it's Trump being Trump once again. I guess what they mean is a lying, scapegoating narcissist, wannabe authoritarian. It's Trump being Trump. That's exactly who he is and what he's brought back to the White House. So I hope that this, to Christians, as a non-Christian, maybe I can't evaluate this, right? As a cultural Jew, I see this Easter message and I go, that seems whacked. It doesn't suggest to me that Trump understands the meaning and teachings of Jesus, but maybe I'm not the right person to say. So to the Christians, to the Catholics, to all the folks who celebrate Easter, I want to hear from you. Was this the deeply spiritual message that you wanted from the president? Did he strike the right tone? Did this inspire in some way? Let me know. And by the way, make sure you're on my newsletter. You can email info@davidpakman.com and say, hey, David, get me on that newsletter. And or you can go to davidpakman.substack.com. If you want to change your IP address when watching or downloading large video files, you need a VPN. Most VPNs come with a lot of buffering and waiting when you're dealing with video, but our sponsor, Private Internet Access, will not subject you to that. PIA is the only VPN fully optimized for lightning-fast streaming and downloading 4K content without the buffering. Changing your IP address with a VPN lets you do things like watch the UK version of Netflix or the Australian version of Hulu, so you can watch lots of great content not normally available in your country. For instance, PIA lets me see a bunch of great Argentinian soccer I can't normally get in the US. They have servers in 91 countries, and with just a single account, you can use PIA on unlimited devices, computer, tablet, phone, TV, game console. If you sign up for PIA today and you don't love it, you can get a full refund anytime in the first 30 days. So try Private Internet Access risk-free and get 83% off, which comes out to just $203 a month plus 4 extra months for free. Go to piavpn.com/DavidP. The link is down below. The David Pakman Show is primarily funded by our audience. Get the full David Pakman Show experience daily, no commercials, released hours before the show is published to everybody else, plus an extra program every day called The Bonus Show. You can sign up at joinpakman.com. If you have cable, you may not realize that you're sending Fox News $4 a month. It's a tragic reality, but you can send us a few bucks a month instead by signing up at joinpakman.com. This is what keeps us independent. No layers of editors or executive producers who can shut down the show. Fortunately, because it would have been shut down long ago, that I can assure you. Consider a membership at joinpakman.com. All right, let's just get it out of the way. Another school shooting, another young man radicalized, apparently, by far-right extremism. And surprise, he was reportedly obsessed with Trump, Turning Point USA, and white supremacy. This time it happened at Florida State University. 2 people are dead, 6 injured. And the shooter, a 20-year-old student who reportedly admired Hitler and was part of Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. But why don't we keep pretending that drag queens and library books are the real problem, the real radicalizing force in the United States? Here's what we know. The shooting happened just before noon on April 17th at the Student Union building at Florida State University. The shooter showed up with 3 firearms, a handgun, a shotgun, and a third weapon that at last check is still being identified. He shot and killed 2 men, Robert Morales, the longtime FSU dining director and assistant football coach, and Tiru Chaba, a regional VP for Aramark. 6 others were injured, including a grad student who was shot while fleeing. Police responded in 4 minutes and shot the shooter after he refused to comply. Last report is that the shooter is in the hospital and not speaking. Here is an interview with an individual who knew the suspect, and here's what he had to say. Certainly not an unclear message.
The suspected shooter has been identified by police as an FSU student by the name of Phoenix Eichner. I know it's a big school. Did you happen to know him?
So I spent my first 2 years at Tallahassee, now called Tallahassee State College, but we called it TCC. And I was the president of a political talk group we called the Political Roundtable, and he joined the club when I was at TCC. Basically our only rule was no Nazis, colloquially speaking. And he espoused so much white supremacist rhetoric and far right rhetoric as well, to the point where we had to exercise that rule. I also know he was a member of the TCC Turning Point chapter. And since TCC, I have seen him in passing a couple times. Today, I was talking to a friend who had talked to him yesterday, or 2 days ago, pardon me. And he was talking about how he wasn't ready for exams.
To be clear, Reed, I just want to make sure that folks understand this. So you were a transfer student essentially into FSU, right? So you started the first 2 years in Tallahassee, and that is where you knew Phoenix Eichner, the suspected shooter here. And you say that he was essentially, it sounded like, kicked out of a political club that you were in because of his, as you described them, views on white supremacy?
Yes, ma'am. So it wasn't necessarily a formal kicking out, but he was asked not to come back, and was really what had happened was we had, it was a debate back and forth. And after enough times, I mean, he did not feel welcome because he was not welcome with his rhetoric. We allow people of all, beliefs, creeds, whatever. And he somehow found a way to not fit the bill on everyone else.
So what went through your mind, Reed, when you heard the police had identified the suspected shooter in this instance as this individual who you had known for a couple of years?
Initially, pure, unadulterated anger. To think that someone I knew had essentially made me a statistic. To think that, I had conversations with him at a normal level and, person to person. And for it to turn into this, I don't know why he would have done something like this. I don't know where it would have come from, but I'd sure like to find out.
The guy's background seems to read like a walking MAGA manifesto, known on campus for pushing far-right white supremacist views, kicked out of the student group, as was mentioned there. His stepmother, a Leon County Sheriff's deputy, gave him access to the guns that he used, and also a fan of Turning Point USA, which is, of course, this overtly Trump-aligned student group run by Charlie Kirk. Trump was asked about this. Here's what he had to say.
Two deceased following that shooting at Florida State University. Following and amid that, is there any changes that you want to see to gun legislation? Anything you see broken with gun laws in our
Well, I'm going to have to look. I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I
Important thing to clarify after mass shootings.
Protected it, and these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's a phrase that's used probably too often.
I agree. It's used too often. He's right.
I will tell you that it's a shame. I'm just hearing about it now. I just hear about it too often. It doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's a phrase that's used. It's Florida, and we'll have more to say about it later.
And of course, the only wealthy country in the world that has this seemingly inevitable problem. This wasn't random. This was radicalization enabled by a political movement that doesn't just tolerate extremism, it thrives on it. We'll see once Trump knows more about it what sort of thing he comes up with to say. The economic situation is causing panic at the White House. We have circumstances right now where Donald Trump is trying to figure out, how do I get myself out of this impossible economic situation? As I am recording this segment right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down yet another 800 points. How long can this continue? Well, Trump's getting very desperate. And Trump took to Truth Central, very important platform, of course, and started laying out his frustrations. He builds to the economic stuff, but he starts by talking about the recently deported Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Let's start there. Trump, quote, "Radical lunatic Democrats and their comrades in the fake news media are falsely making Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia out to be a very sweet and innocent person, which is a total blatant and dangerous lie. Garcia has been found by 2 separate courts to be a member of the violent killer gang MS-13, was in our country illegally, and is under a deportation order. It is despicable and un-American for liberals and the mainstream media to hate our country so much and be obsessed with protecting criminals instead of working to keep our borders, streets, and families safe. Those lying to the American people on behalf of violent criminals have to be held responsible by the agencies and the courts. Make America great again." So this is Trump's go-to move when his administration is under pressure. Find an immigrant accused of a crime, link them to MS-13, pretend Democrats are holding parades in their honor. Never mind that nobody is saying very sweet and innocent. What we're saying is that even the accused deserve due process. And Trump hates that because due process gets in the way of his political theater. Now, he also calls journalists to be held responsible by agencies and courts for supposedly lying about a deportation case. Understand that that's not law and order. That's authoritarianism. It's punish the press when they say things I don't like. Criminalize speech, criminalize dissent. All right, so then Trump continues into the panicked economic stuff. Quote, "Since our announcement of Liberation Day, many world leaders and business executives have come to me asking for relief from tariffs. It's good to see that the world knows we are serious because we are. They must right the wrongs of decades of abuse, but it won't be easy for them. We must rebuild the wealth of our great country and create true reciprocity. But for those who want the easiest path, come to America, build in America." Even calling April 2nd Liberation Day at this point is vomitous, okay? Especially when we've seen the destruction economically that it has wrought. It's the kind of phrase you slap on a fake holiday in a dystopian novel. He claims world leaders are begging him to lift tariffs, but that's not diplomacy, it's economic hostage taking, even if Trump is telling the truth.
Stephen Hawking died in 2018.
That he really connects with what he's saying, and he is just genuinely a deeply spiritual person. I don't mean any of that. And then we go to the truth. So
portion.
Let's take with us, I think, this Black Rune and then my Soul of Cain. Before I pop the Soul of Cain trying to find the ultra secret room, what I can do is walk room by room and see if no red door shows up. That's a good indicator that there would be a secret room there. This one, the reason it's not showing up is because there's a skinny room just north of it. There couldn't be a door attached to it. The red room wouldn't spawn there. This one is looking pretty good. Bunch of stuff. Oh, that's right. We have a 3-room. I kind of forgot about that. We'll turn all of our trinkets and excess cards and hearts into hopefully some more cash. Top secret room has the confessional. We kind of flopped our chance on this floor, and I can't see my health, so I don't want to go too crazy right now. Ultra secret room off the shop, maybe? Yeah, it is. What is it? It's just a bunch of keys. I'm at 99 keys already. Oh, we got. And now I can't get a Bombs R key pill ever again because I took the starter deck. Rip. You drop me safety cap. That's funny. You're a funny game. Re-room it up and maybe turn those keys into something I can actually use. Yeah, that looks better. Full of Bethany. Don't mind it. Finally, boss time. Fistula should go down pretty quick. Yep, that's what I thought. Pageant boy, I don't even have a problem with it right now. I might accidentally get my jackpot. I kind of want to use it in a secret room and see if we can't make it happen. Yeah, buddy, sausage. All stats up. One of the truest all stats ups in the game. Cool. I'm having fun. I like this character. Very meaningful ways that you can kind of like manipulate the odds of the jackpot. It seems kind of weak, seems kind of weird, but there's a strategy there. And once you figure it out, it's cool. It's fun. Might be for the min-maxers only, but if you really wanted to not pay attention and just do whatever the hell you wanted to, that would also work just fine in this character. Just pick up the money wherever you see the money. If you get an item, great. Am I gonna go for Angel Chance? Probably here instead of paying them out. Money's too valuable to me right now. Treasure room's got Infestation. Taking damage spawns flies. Not the best for me. Shop. Oh, deeper pockets. Yes, please. Now I just need a couple 2 diamonds. First room with the Guppy's tail. With 97 keys. Yes, future shop. There's only 1 more to go. Please, give me mom's key. Power. Restock machine. Yellow. Oh my god. It's my brother. Brother? Fool's gold. We like to see that. Beef my jackpot before we go into this angel room. We only have 3% chance right now, but it'll have to do. Crushed it. Divorce papers. Our tier cap has been reached. Get angelic prism. Maybe it's just good enough to take, but with the reverse judgment card and this much money, here's what I'm thinking. We actually get both key pieces on the ground too, and we re-roll all 3 of them. Because what would I rather have more than angelic prism? Godhead and sacred heart. We can do it. I'm probably gonna spend this cash on the reverse justice card. I might just die. What if I just died? Okay, we got stuff dropping too. What is that? My chance right now is, I can't read. Oh God, buddy, easy. Calm down. Here we go. 80 cents is probably enough to make this reroll machine explode. So let's see if I can pull off a jackpot within the next couple of uses here. All right. Reroll machine. That's what I'm talking about. That's it. Look at this now. Look at this with the pop, with the hungry, with the holy laser. It's good. It's really, really good. Oh, Sacred Orb. Yep. Prevents quality 0 and 1 from spawning. Quality 2 items have a 33% chance of being re-rolled. So we're going to see a lot better items after picking this sucker up. Honestly, I think it's Ludopatilla to jackpot. Yeah, buddy. Sacred Orb re-rolls. Honestly, I might actually take the Jar of Wisps with me here. We do have to think about future angel rooms, and the Jar of Wisps is a good way to try to protect that since we don't have soul hearts or black hearts to protect ourselves. Yeah. Soul also like quality, the aura that repels enemies. I don't know what more we really need to get or see here. I don't know. We'll just keep rolling just for the fun of it, I guess. I don't think we need that. That's gonna kind of ruin everything that we have going for us. Spirit Sword, you're great, but no. And we ended up getting the Crown of Light. Yeah. Double damage. That was an incredibly successful angel room. One more thing that I think I would have liked to see instead of one of these items, maybe instead of Crown of Light, would have been like Eucharist so that we could just get more. We're doing great. It's hard to complain in this position right now. Look at that. Look at that. Fire rate. I'm a little under the cap. I'm still gonna black rune this. Was hoping to get fire rate from the black rune to break the cap, but plus 4 damage is pretty insane as well. Oh, random jackpot. That was a very low chance, and we ended up getting Epiphora here. The longer we hold in one direction, the faster our fire rate will be. Oh, that's right. We're not on Repentance Plus right now. We are on Repentagon. We're on old school Epiphora. It's gonna slowly increase as we hold down. What a difference a day makes going on to this floor with 34 damage. God ahead. Sacred Heart, Sacred Orb. Deeper Pocket's gonna give us more coin drops for room rewards as well. Oh, wow. Wow. We got a 1.5 times damage multiplier. Cricket's head jackpot drop. Plus 21 damage. Keybagger at 97 keys. Yeah, I got some extra for you. Wow. Yeah, I'll take that trinket. Oh, Angel Room. Sick. No rerolls right now. We're going to go ahead and take Purgatory and be happy for it. Imagining we're going to get a jackpot payout in here. Jackpot, Cracker Jacks. We have 7 health now. I suppose I should take damage to try to lose my angel chance right now, if I even can. Take some damage. There we go. Lose my angel chance because we got teleported in there. We don't want to earn it on this floor. We want 100% chance next floor. Treasure Room, Aquarius. Options question mark. Super greed fight with a stapler. 13% chance. Ludopatia, it's your turn. Bruh. It's so good. What do we want? Rock bottom could be fun. I'm thinking C-section is just obviously a clear winner here. Or maybe the one and only Bori Trusted Ceramic Bank, 600 to 500 BC. I must have one. I think this is the one for me. Realistically speaking, we probably should have gone with Midas Touch. Realistically speaking, I'm very happy. Ludopatia, could you give me another item in here? You probably could. All right, you couldn't do it. It looks like it's not a guaranteed drop. It's much like Keeper. Some of the times are we actually getting a drop. Get into my boss trap room. Sun card. Could have old bandaged first because it does give me an empty heart container. Finally, mom fight. Done. We ended up earning the angel room anyways at 7%. Yeah, right. Bummer, man. Next floor. We got sack spikes on this floor. Would I be crazy enough to use them? Probably, yeah. Thank you, Bora Truscan. I know you got my back. Got a Glyph of Balance. Room clear rewards and champion enemy drops become whatever pickup Isaac needs the most. I think we might get less money if I take this, oddly enough. Because at some point in time, I'm hoping to have, 200 pennies. I'll probably get less penny drops. Let's go ahead and blank rune that and see if I can't turn it into something else. We got the money. The money payout's exactly what I wanted here. We got a jackpot. It's a Tech 5. Love it. Blank rune, hopefully per throw this. It's an AWAS. Okay. I should have been standing over a spot for that. My bad. All right, we'll try the Glyph of Balance. I don't know if it interferes with deeper pockets, but we'll see. If I have a room where I get 3 bomb payouts, then we know that, yes, it did, in fact, mess it up. Okay, so that was 3 coin drops there. That didn't get changed. And I've got 59 cents. You'd think that it would want to give me 3 bomb drops instead. So it looks like Glyph of Balance maybe does not interfere with it. And we got a payout here of Teleport 2.0. Yeah. Demon Judgment. Ace of Diamonds too. Delicious. Bora Truscan give me money drops here. And then I can just pick up that money, get my health back. Little horn shot. We like that. Alrighty. Look at me go. Jackpot. We got holy water. Love that. Squeezy. Want to see me do it again? Jackpot. Lost contact. Winning. Jackpot speedball. Another temperance machine. Are you joking right now? Oh, okay. They were joking. It was a joke. And goodbye. Blood Clot. Yeah, flat damage. Teleport 2.0. Take me to my angel. You don't really want little delirium, but it's all right. Couple mini batteries up here to get into my I am error room. Very nice. Eye of Greed. Every 20 tiers, Isaac shoots a coin tier that deals damage. Enemies hit turn into gold. Firing a coin tier costs 1 coin. Could be good, could be bad, who knows? The run's already over. It's broken, man. Contract from below. I'm loving the look of this chest. If I could just have more than 1 luck, please. But Guppy's Tail and Contract from Below. Options question mark and deeper pockets. Going to the chest, we're going to get a lot of chest. And with our Sacred Orb, they are going to be spicy. Sacrifice spikes. I see you. Bring it on. Jackpot Tech 0. Look at this. Look at this. Wow. Our shots are connected with electricity. Got the soul hearts. Lame. Wow. A lot of stuff and things happening. It lives. Goodbye. No angel room, so that means we're gonna have to teleport once into boss trap room and fight it, and then I'll have a battery. We'll then teleport once into the angel room, and we will skip our I am air. Boss has got blue cap. It's fine. You don't have to fight for this if you don't want to. Technically, the room is already explored, but why not? Look at that. Enemies are dying before they even lived. And there's my jackpot wire coat hanger. I was hoping to save that for the angel room. Angel room's got dead duff. Light and spectral tears. We don't need it, but I'm gonna take it anyway. Would I go crazy on my Ludopatia right now? Try to get a jackpot. We got it. Full map. Alrighty, I'm out of here. Honestly, at this point in time, we could just kind of speed run until we get to the chest. Maybe we get a couple items if we really min-maxed it, but I'm sure that's fully worth it. Would like to get a quick full clear down though, such that we can get our last angel room. Last eye. That's a secret room with a reroll machine. I might want to take advantage of that if I can. If I can get an item, my Ludopatia. Grab money first though to increase my jackpot chance. Don't pay out, jackpot. Cool it down, jackpot. All right, Ludopatia, what do you got? Yeah, buddy. Rock bottom. Exactly what I wanted. Who needs to reroll? Who needs to reroll when you get the best thing anyways? Do I just pop this Empress card? Yeah, that damage ain't going anywhere. We got 80 damage. Yarrow for the next floor? Absolutely. Toxic fight. Done. Angel room. It's a devil room. Interesting. Let's touch a guppy. Should we Ludopatia? We can give up health too if we really want to go deep. Ow, 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 ow. All right, I'm done. Let's go. Here are my chests. What do you got for me? Multi-dimensional. Cool. Bird's eye. Great. Ouija board. Don't need it, really. Bobby bomb. What's up? Some defense. Eden's blessing. That's cool. Cupid's arrow. You ever forget me now? Could totally use it if I wanted to. Do I need to use it? Eh. Look at this. Look at this. And the chest that we're going to get right now. Wow. Wow. 9 lives? You gonna set my health back down to 1? That's fine. I'm guppy. Who cares? Secret room with those chests. What do you got? Anti-grav? Don't even care. Chalky milkies? This is what it looks like now. Spin out baked chocolate milk shots. Oh my god, even bigger chocolate milk shots. That is 207 damage with 6 fire rate. Yep. Dead-eye? Sure. Whatever, dude. Chests on chests on chests on chests. Conjoined. Fine. He's mascara. 817 mother flippin' damage. Hemolacria. Holy smokes. 1284. 1284.18 damage right now. What? Oh my god. I don't even know what these tiers are. I've never seen this tier effect before in my life. Ooh, euthanasia. Oh, jackpot. I died. I got 9 lives. Jackpot into the tech axe. It's going to override everything. This will no longer be a thing, but have we gotten our fill of looking at it? Are we satisfied? It's just going to be more nothingness in the future, so let's take tech axe and see what happens. Okay, that's not what I expected. We're still shooting out normal shots. Tech axe did not override it, apparently. Evil eye, that's a funny joke. Flatstone, lol. Isaac fight, done. Angel room. Krampus fight, yeah, right. Give me the lump of coal, please. Yeah. And let's not forget about the don't forget me now. Want to see me do it again. Tracky beam. Does that do anything? We'll never know. Oh, if there was something that was going to kill me, it'd be a red poop room. Get out of town, stupid red poop. Jackpot. God dang it. Poptosis. Yeah, we'll do it. Ghost Peps wafer? Doesn't really work for me. Lost Fly. You love them. Number 1? Probably don't want that. Too bad we never saw Chaos. Eternal D6. Yeah. Money goes power. Finally. PhD. Blood bombs. Ooh, split shot. Soy milk? I don't think that anything's going to change because my fire rate. No, it didn't. My fire rate was so low that it didn't even go anywhere. One last. Hurrah. Ooh, there's a jackpot. D8. I might as well with rock bottom. Doesn't even freaking matter. Hey, plus 1.6 range. That's not bad. Didn't expect anything and was still somehow disappointed, T8. Alrighty, guys. This is going to be the end. Absolutely crushed it. Had a great time. Hope you guys had just as much fun as I did. There is more going on with this mod. There's also Tainted Gambler, which is the fortune-telling machine, the Bloody Blood Donation machine, and then the Tainted Bloody Confessional booth. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
They're gonna tell you to get off of the internet because your phone's not hacked. Now, if you want me to tell you your phone's hacked, your phone's hacked. If that's what you just want to say. If your goal is to get, you're trying to drum up energy, so that way when you go tell a specific person that your phone is hacked, that you got backup of people telling you, I gotta let you know that. That's the wackest shit I've ever heard. That's so whack. I gotta let you know that's so whack. If you're trying to convince yourself that your phone is hacked, that's super fucking lame. You're so cool. You're much cooler than that, bro. You're much cooler than that. You can think whatever you want, dog. I can't tell you nothing. Especially don't tell me the truth. especially if I'm telling you the truth and you just want to convince yourself. Like if you want to convince yourself, go ahead. But I'm telling you, that's so lame. I did already. What? Your phone is not hacked. I just gave you several examples. I just gave you several examples on why your phone is not hacked. Would you like to go through them again? Oh, you're trying to get me to tell you that don't believe stuff on the internet. So you got frustrated by something on the internet. What's something that you saw on the internet that frustrated you? What are you talking about? What do you mean, what am I talking about? I thought you said that your phone works. So, you lost me again. So, once again, like if you saw something on the internet, if you saw something on the internet, you don't gotta break it down. You're trying to skip over things that you already said. Like I said, if you said your phone's working, is your phone working? Yeah. Okay. So why are you bringing up results? Things that are predictable. I can't stress enough. If you got hacked, you wouldn't know about it. Why do you think you figured out that you got hacked? Why do you think they would tell you you got hacked? If they hacked you, why would they tell you? No, you didn't answer the question. You just kind of skipped past it and went back to what you were saying. If you got hacked, why would they tell you you got hacked? Why would the sign say you got hacked? Is that what happened? If you read something online that said your phone might got hacked if you broke a leg, did you break a leg? If somebody might say if you got hacked, you don't. Nah, but if you get hacked, you might have only one arm. Do you only have one arm? If you got hacked, you might not have any shoes on your feet. Do you have shoes on your feet right now? Okay, well you probably didn't get hacked. Is that what happened? I mean, I also read this joint that said like if you send me Ibrahim Muhammad, I don't know why my name is on there, but if you send me Ibrahim Muhammad $5 on Cash App, you might have got hacked. Did you send me $5 on Cash App? I'm rude. I'm just trying to tell you what I saw on Google. All I did was Google. How do I know if I got hacked? And it said send me $5 to figure out if you got hacked. Send me the money and I'll figure it out for you. What do you mean? This is what I'm reading off of Google. It's just what it says on Google. How is it? I'm trying to help you. I'm reading what it says. It said, I Googled, how do I know if I got hacked? It said, send me $5 on Cash App. Ibrahim Muhammad. I don't know why my name's on here. Like, I don't even know how it popped up. All right, hold on. Here go another one. How to know if you got hacked. It says, if your name is Catherine, you didn't get hacked. I don't know why it says your name. It's probably talking about a different game. Oh, no. Wait, hold on. If you think you did get hacked and you didn't get hacked, you did get hacked. That's not how getting hacked works. Yeah, that's what it says.
Well, what do I do?
No, no, I can only tell you what it says. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's like if you, I'll read it again. Hold on. I got the big screen on. I'll show you. So I got the big screen on here, right? So it's like, and that's what it says. It says, if you think you got hacked, even if you didn't get hacked, even if you think you got hacked, you still not getting hacked.
Oh, what am I doing?
If you, what if you did? Okay, if you got hacked, you know what that means when you actually get hacked?
Your phone gets hacked.
Yeah, you know what that means.
Can they access my bank information?
I mean, if they hack your phone, they can access anything on the phone if they hack your phone.
So should I take off my phone, my bank stuff?
I mean, if you feel like you're not trying to pay that phone bill, or you feel like you ain't trying to have them withdraw no money out of your account, those are the same things to me. It's all up to you. I'm just saying, you don't have to convince yourself. You don't have to. You can make conscious choices. Yeah, you could definitely just make that. You could be like, I got this sudden urge. I got. Let me first lock my card. And if I didn't get hacked, if you didn't get hacked or you didn't get hacked, why do you want to be hacked so bad?
I don't. I want to make sure I'm not.
You did. You did make sure you're not.
How?
By buying an iPhone. You bought an iPhone.
You can still get hacked having an iPhone.
No, you can't. Who is out here hacking an iPhone? Nobody. Nobody's hacking an iPhone.
Well, yes, they do.
Oh, I think I get what you're saying. You're talking about skimming information. Yeah, people skim information off of iPhones. People don't hack iPhones. People skim information off of iPhones.
What does that mean?
What? Skimming? Skimming is when you copy what's on the phone. Hacking is when you take control of the phone.
So I'm copying my stuff myself.
You can only copy something when you're close to somebody. Are you around somebody that's trying to copy you?
No.
Then I think you're okay.
That doesn't make no sense.
That didn't make sense? You're not around somebody?
No.
I'll say it again. You can only get skimmed.
See, somebody can go through your, like, from their computer at their house and then skim your phone.
You can only hack somebody's phone from another computer.
Yeah.
That's not skimming.
But you can skim somebody's phone from their computer.
You can definitely skim somebody's phone from another computer. You can also fly at Mach 4 in a F-16 jet.
So how do I know about a hack? Are you gonna tell me?
Hmm?
Are you gonna tell me how to know about that hack?
Yeah, all right, bro. I'll tell you how you get hacked. All right, so this is how you get hacked. First, what you do is you find a way to bypass the security protocol that exists on most devices. That is normally in the form of a encoding, or what they do is the computer makes a special language and then shares the keys to the special language with everybody that's on its team. So if you're on the same team or you're traveling amongst that team, you can use all of those keys. If they manage to get access,
How do I know that? How do I get hacked? How do I know if I got hacked?
I can't stress it enough. Rule number one, if you get hacked, you're not going to know you got hacked because they don't want you to know you got hacked because they're hacking. stop you from getting hacked. Number three, I can't describe stops you from getting hacked other than a thing that stops you from being hacked. You don't know what stop means? All right, yeah. Number three, you didn't get hacked. Well, if I can't tell you, if I can't convince you didn't get hacked, and you believing that you got hacked like this guy, what do you want me to tell you? Well, it's hard to get rid of something that don't exist, but the best you can do in a situation of belief is pray. What? I just told you. The only thing you can do in a situation of belief is pray. That's the best advice, girl. You better get on your knees and start humming. Hell no, I'm not praying to no dang on hack guy. You better catch me with the footnotes. Talking about some I pray with you. Watch, dear God, did she get hacked and I just get struck by lightning? As soon as did she get struck by lightning? I don't even get to finish this, and I would deserve it too. The Pope gonna come back from that. The Pope is gonna haunt your ass. He just died today. You want to talk about some? Damn, I got hacked. I think I got hacked. Nigga, watch he haunt your ass. How about that? Yo, did you tell me that? You're mad good. Actually, John with the man who's take over the system and sell them. I got him for $5. I bought them 4 days ago. I just started eating. Wow. Yeah. Yo, you know who does that a lot? An actor, Owen Wilson. Yeah. Yeah, I'm at my wife's her new house. Yeah, I'm still in Philly. I'm at the crib. Welcome to the room. That's what I be doing when I'm not at work. Staying up all fucking night. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a house, it's a crib. I just be too busy sleeping. Like I be up when I'm not at work. I'm probably up maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. Not a lot, cause I'm getting off at 7. I stay up till 2, so I'm awake about 5 hours. That's only because I have to stay up so I can go to sleep one time, wake up one time. I tell you what, waking up at 6 p.m. to stay up until 7 a.m. is a bastard. Especially when you got to stay up till 2 p.m. the following day. So that's 6 p.m. to go stay up until. That's 20 hours. Fuck that shit. I'd rather stay up the 5 hours extra afterwards. Hell no. What you got planned for this week? Hello? All I heard was because Thursday, and then that was it. All right. What days did you stay in at Gabby's? All right. I mean, that don't tell me nothing about nothing. Actually, it told me less than nothing. It made me ask questions, which means that there was deficits in the nothing that you provided. But hey, whatever. It sound like you doing one of your moves, especially if you're trying to convince yourself you got hacked. So I'm gonna have to let that one go. Nope. I already let it go. guess that. I think I'm not living free. I'm living like a slave. And that shit's so gross to me. It fucks me up every moment of the day. But what can I do about it? I've been given certain options because of certain choices. So, however, opportunities create the ability to make new options off those new choices. And given those circumstances, I like to take advantage if able. And that is the definition of an opportunity. An advantageous option, i.e., an opportunity. And that's when you go, I don't even know what you're saying. And I go, you're not even listening. You go, I'm falling asleep. And I go, oh, okay. If you say so. Like I said, okay. Why are you watching? So what else are you watching? Are you only watching the plot ass shows? Oh wait, yo, I'm on YouTube. I'm literally live streaming right now. What is that? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna send you a link. Clean like. You're definitely not gonna sit there. Yep. I'm gonna sit there. I'm gonna let. It's gonna be like Ibrahim is trying to hack you. You just gotta say yeah. No, because I ended up finding a hat. It was in the kitchen. You can give me a hat. Go for it. God, we didn't even fight. What are you talking about? Bro, there's nothing I can tell you. So you just gonna have to look at it. The best thing to do is just breathe. Just breathe. Look at it. Just hang in. I have a mild anxiety attack. Interesting. Pre-existing social syndrome. Mental health issues. That's okay. It's a condition in which you exist. Just breathe. It'll go. I'm sure. I'm positive. Listen, I think I got a hat. Shut up. Give me a fucking hat.
Don't look so, be gone. There's no word.